Welcome to 21st Sports, and we're talking the Denver Broncos at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in their Week 4 matchup played October 2nd, 2016. And this game saw some stormy weather the second straight week in a row. Of course, it really didn't have any effect on the game. The game was already well out of reach, but they actually, in the fourth, they had to stop the game because of a storm. And if you've ever been to Florida, I'll tell you, those clouds always look closer than anywhere else. They seem so low to the ground. It almost feels like you're in the heavens when you're in Florida with how big the clouds are. You feel like you could almost reach out and touch them, which then when you have a storm, it's all the worse because it's like right on top of you. It's actually the loudest thunder I've ever heard and the loudest lightning I've ever heard strike. Like, I've actually felt the lightning and the thunder where it like shook my whole body, like from the reverberation from it hitting the ground, as it was pretty close. But yeah, down there they have some pretty bad storms in Florida for sure. But it didn't have an effect on the game, and this game was really all Denver. Of course, Trevor Siemian ended up leaving the game, and Paxton Lynch ended up taking over. But before he left the game, Trevor Siemian threw a touchdown pass to Demaryius Thomas, an 11-yard touchdown pass, the first score of the game, that made it 7-0 Denver over Tampa Bay. But still in the first, Jameis Winston would put the Bucs on the board with a 7-yard touchdown run, and this game was tied at 7 apiece. That was the score after one, and that would be the only score for the Bucs in this game. In the second, though, the Broncos got back on the board. C.J. Anderson with a 1-yard touchdown run to make it 14-7, and then Brandon McManus with a 38-yard field goal, and it was 17-7 at halftime. In the third, McManus added a 24-yard field goal, and then in the fourth, Paxton Lynch threw a touchdown to Emmanuel Sanders, a 5-yard touchdown, and that made it 27-7, and that was before the delay. They would end up taking the break. The game would resume and eventually come to a close, but the Denver Broncos with the W as they remain undefeated in 2016. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers fall to 1-3. But in this game, Trevor Siemian was 5 for 7, 68 yards and a touchdown before having to leave the game. Paxton Lynch coming in was 14 for 24, 170 yards and a touchdown. C.J. Anderson, 19 carries for just 49 yards and a touchdown. Demaryius Thomas, 6 receptions for 94 yards and a touchdown. Emmanuel Sanders, 8 catches for 88 yards and a touchdown. And for the Bucs, Jameis Winston, 17 of 35, 179 yards and 2 interceptions. And Sims, 15 carries for just 28 yards, as they really could not get things going on the ground. Of course, Winston did have 5 carries for 19 yards and the only touchdown for Tampa Bay. Bray was their leading receiver with 5 catches for 67 yards. Evans, 5 catches for 59 yards as well. Then we look at the defense. And for the Broncos, Wolf with 2.5 sacks. Barrett had a sack as well. Aqib Talib with 2 interceptions. Ward with a forced fumble. Williams had a sack, and Von Miller had a half a sack. And for the Bucs, Alexander with a sack, McDonald 1.5 sacks, Goldston with a half sack. Spence and McCoy also had half sacks as well. Then we look at the first downs, 22 for Denver, 15 for Tampa Bay. On third down, the Bucs 5 of 16, 31% conversion rate. Denver was just 3 of 13 on third down, just 23%. The Bucs went for it once on fourth. They did not convert. Total net yards, 307 to 215 for Denver in favor of the Broncos. We look at the penalties in this game. Both teams with 9 penalties, 88 penalty yards against Denver, 69 against Tampa Bay. The Bucs had 2 fumbles. They recovered 1. They lost 1. Then we look at the red zone. Denver 3 for 4, 75% in the red zone. The Bucs only made the 1 trip to the red zone, and they were 1 for 1, 100%. And then the time of possession, 31 minutes, 24 seconds for Denver, 28 minutes, 36 seconds for Tampa Bay. So the Denver defense getting it done, and the offense doing enough to put the points on the board. Siemian was looking good before he left the game, and then Paxton Lynch actually doing pretty good in his stead. And the Bucs just could not get things going against one of the best defenses in the league, the Denver Broncos. Very dominant performance by them. Just the one touchdown allowed. That was early on, and then they blanked the Bucs through the final 3 quarters of the game. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Which plays and performances stuck out to you? Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you had a good day and had a great weekend and enjoyed all the sports.